The goal of Data Transformers podcast is to accelerate digital transformation by bridging the gap between business outcomes and rapidly advancing technologies. And we aim to bridge this gap by focusing on data. I am Peggy Tsai, top 50 women in tech influencer, co-author of the AI book, and data governance expert.
I'm Ramesh Danta, an entrepreneur, a tech blogger, and AI enthusiast.
Hello, welcome to Data Transformers podcast. This is part 2 of our ongoing discussion with Diane Schmidt, Global Director and Head Data Governance and Business Process for London Stock and Exchange Group.
I know you've also have a lot of experience, speaking with other data professionals and peers. I'd love to get your thoughts on what you think is missing, or what do you think the mistakes other chief data officers are making when they take on this role. Just in terms of things that you see that shouldn't be done, but are still either happening, or just love to see what your thoughts are on common mistakes that are being made today.
I think a lot of CDOs come in and they must make an impact. I think in their minds they must come out and create something exciting and new and different and figure it out and kind of make the mistake of not assessing the landscape and taking the time to assess the landscape and say what's been done before. Let's add that into the equation. What didn't work? What did we miss out of that? Also leveraging, I think, your stakeholders and speaking with them and establishing those relationships and gathering that, what problems are we trying to solve, instead of telling them what problems you're going to solve for them, but let them tell you. One thing that we did at the London Stock Exchange Group was recently this year is we have a new group data policy, relatively new, that went into effect. And why a policy is important, in my opinion, is that it sort of underpins the program. Mm-hmm. Unless you need some sort of framework, policy framework, so that people begin to understand, where the boundaries are, what the guidelines are. Because without it, you're talking to thin air. You have nothing to point to. So what we did was we actually conducted a survey. Mm-hmm. So we used ServiceNow, and we built a simple survey. I think it was 16, 17 questions about the policy itself. And surveyed, I think we ended up getting, it was not mandatory. And we ended up getting, out of 5,500 or so, give or take, we ended up getting about 3,000 people that completed the survey. Mm-hmm. And what did that survey tell us? Well, there were three specific components. The first set of questions were related to yes, no, not sure, other. And really what that told us was, are you aware of the Data Governance Office? Are you aware of the CDO? Are you aware of the policy? And then things like, I acknowledge that I've read this section or this section, data traceability or integrity or, all of that, data quality. And so we have answers from that. So what we did was we took those answers and basically took all the highs out of that and said, okay, what does that look like? Are people aware of the policy? With a huge number of people that are now aware of the policy that maybe weren't before, because we built the policy into the survey. So if they didn't read it before, they read it now. The second part of it was within the survey. Second sort of type of question was, we said, please rate please rate the policy and please rate the survey. 82% said, between 82 and 87% said that they rated the policy and the PSR process anywhere from 3, 4, or 5. Our survey went from 0 to 5. So that's pretty good, right? That's a pretty high number. The last piece of the survey was the last question where people had an opportunity to provide comments. And so what I did was I took the 600 comments and I coded those comments into themes and said, what do these mean? I'm confused. I don't like this. Oh, this is a great start. Or unintelligible. Not sure. I need more help. So I coded the comments, and what I saw were sort of emerging themes. And the emerging themes were progress, challenges, and opportunities. And you think about, okay, we had 50% of just let me go through this. So we basically had a huge number of people respond to the survey. One, that's great. Yeah. Number two, we had huge percentages that basically 82% that are now aware of the policy that weren't aware before. And we also have people who told us that they needed more training, that they needed, what direction of travel should we continue to take this policy or program. So right there, I think what CDOs should understand is use data to help you. Don't just make predictions or try to go figure it out. Use tools, to be able to help you figure out where you should go. So now we have an amazing quantitative set of measures that, stats that basically tell us what direction of travel to go, because we've now answered 3,000 people. I mean, that's pretty interesting. And it also tells us really from a conformance perspective, what that conformance looks like. Mm-hmm. So we're definitely excited about that approach. We're going to take that approach again here shortly into 2021 and continue to demonstrate. We use industry other benchmarks like the DCAM and other things as well, but this is specific and internal. So like I said, it's really, really interesting. So I would say that one mistake I've seen is that you let the data the data doesn't lie. Like let the data help you. So,
and that's certainly and we hear it a lot, like just the improving the data culture within the organization. And it sounded like, again, you coded, so you're really hands-on and taking all the responses and doing the the sentiment analysis, right? You really were able to really understand, and it's so quantified. You're able to measure the results, and I'm sure when you repeat the same survey, you can actually measure how much you've improved in the year. So that's fantastic. It's a great piece of
advice. And another fascinating thing about that to me, thank you for the very detailed walkthrough on that one, Diane, because now you see a lot of that goes into how you structure the survey itself, right? In terms of, a lot of thinking goes into the structuring the survey so that you get really actionable data that you can work on. That for a detailed walkthrough how to put a survey together, how to read the survey, thank you. That is a very great answer. And then the second, one of the things that we really go into is people's professional journeys. How did they, progress to a journey? What decisions were they making? So we would like to understand, Diane Schmidt, in terms of how you made your decisions from one company to one, organization, another organization, and one role to another organization. So we know how you got started. Right. So that was a great story. Yeah. Then later on through the professional journey, how were you making the decisions either to go from one organization to another organization or within the same organization, like a Freddie Mac, where you were 12 years, I'm sure you moved around within that. So if you could walk us through how you were making those decisions.
Sure. I wish I could say that I was really smart about making these decisions, and they were perfectly well executed. They were not. I fell into the data space, like we talked about, and I think I'm a hard worker just by nature. I feel like when companies paying me, I want to work hard, and I want to demonstrate my value, and I learn too. So I think while certainly at Freddie Mac, I started off as a data modeler and I left as a chief data officer. It was really through hard work and opportunity. I think you need both of those, excuse me, to move forward. And for me at the time, and this was sort of the beginning of the 2000s, it was Freddie Mac was going through a restatement, and as was Fannie Mae. And so I actually fell into that opportunity, one, because nobody at the time wanted to focus on data, and they just said, give to Diane, give to Diane. So I just, my plate just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I somehow showed an aptitude for it, I guess, and was able to demonstrate that I could get what the company needed. So I just kept getting promoted and promoted and promoted. After, just working literally, I would say around the clock for many years, because we all, it was about survival, for the company at the time. We had one mission, which was keep the company open, right? Keep the mission going. And that was it. It was clear. So that was just an incredible driver, and to be able to, like I said, it was opportunity and aptitude where they collided, and it ended up just being. So I'm sure my name is still all over the place with many documents, and then my time came to an end, and that's okay, right? I think you need to maybe change a pace and learn other things. And so opportunity came up for me to depart, and I thought it was ended up being a good time. I'd gotten to the highest level you could get in the data space there, and it was time to really let someone else take over for me. I worked at the Office of Financial Research. That opportunity came up again. Someone reached out to me and said, would you be interested? And I was part of how many times do people get to help start a government agency? So I was one of the first 10 people that were hired. My role was very, very big in the beginning when nobody was there, and it kept getting smaller and smaller because we kept hiring, all the roles that we needed. So, and I took that role to for that opportunity that I just talked about, but also knowing it wasn't a forever role. So those roles were meant to hire people off the street with the experience and expertise, get things going, and then kind of hand off. And that's really what I wanted to do. And then the opportunity came up to do some traveling and help other global financial institutions with their CDO groups and get them started. And I worked all over the world. I traveled back and forth to Mexico City, helping one of the biggest financial institutions in Mexico get up and running in data. And I knew a bit of Spanish. And so that was, how many times do you get to do that either? Yeah. So exciting. And then, like we talked about, I did that consulting. It brought me to London Stock Exchange Group, and it was just the right time for me to get back into this type of role. So.
Just a follow up on that one, based on their journey, are there any tidbits of advice that you would give to people? What helped you? Of course, we all know networking definitely helps, but in your case, what specific things? Hard work for sure. Apart from those things, anything that come to mind?
Yeah, I think hard work's always a given, right? Definitely demonstrating hard work. I think also stay networked, right? Don't, things change now. People don't work for companies for 40 years anymore. It's always keeping your skills up, really, doing things that, because you're the commodity. I'm the CEO of Diane. So I take myself with me. So it's making sure that this package is everything that I want it to be. So, right, it's making sure that I take advantage of the training. It's making sure that I learn and not only what I want to learn, but what I don't want to learn, right? Because I think there are things you see in the industry and the way people treat one another or the way that they manage, and that's also something that you can learn by not doing. So like I said, and just really making yourself better, because it is, no one will take care of you except for you.
Yeah.
and that's okay, and that's a good thing. I take responsibility and accountability for myself, and I, as long as my role works where I am and they want me and I want them, it's a great relationship. If things change and they no longer need my services, you just don't take it personally, but I'll be ready. I want to be ready. And so everything that I can do to make sure I'm ready for the next opportunity is really, really important.
That's great advice, I think, for anyone that is looking to certainly grow and evolve their data career. One last question I had for you, Diane, before we wrap up is, we talked about how to grow your own career, but what do you see as trends, overall larger trends and influences that's going to change the data management space? Is it regulatory? Is it what other big influences do you see really making a big impact? Is it AI, machine learning, technologies? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
That's really, I love this question, but at the same time, I never know how to answer it, but I'll do my best. Of course, there's so much now in terms of tooling that there wasn't before. People are really, really focusing on tooling, AI, machine learning, and essentially I get back to what's the so what, why do we care about any of this? So anything that we can do to that visualization, a picture says 1,000 words, right? If you had a 10-page presentation versus a 1-pager with the pictures, that's what people want to see. Simplification, any tooling that simplifies the output, and it really does have to do with that visualization and the translation to management around sort of those decision-making capabilities. I think that monetization is, people want to know, okay, great, we have that down. The health of the data is in good shape. Now, what can we make money? Because it comes down to revenue, efficiencies, risk reduction, right? And essentially that's what people, that's really what it is going to be about. It's the same things that we've focused on before, but now it's through, I think, tooling and tools to improve. Like I said, I really do think visualization is just a huge part of what people want.
Thank you, Diane. Actually, you walked us through the progression of data through your career, like how it progressed, and progression of in a person's career in terms of how they make decisions, and a lot of really good advice there. And your breadth of experience, even though you're from Washington and Virginia, is stunning in terms of, so now you're from there, you're working in London Stock Exchange as well. So different flavors of data, kinds of data. So, and from a data modeler to a CDO, it's a very fascinating journey.
That it is.
So Dan, one thing I wanted to ask you is, we haven't touched upon it. It's a touchy subject, could be a touchy subject, I don't know. As a woman, right, in the technology space, right, what has it been like? It's a minority. Has it been smooth sailing? I'm not, I'm saying tongue in cheek in that sense. What specific challenges have you faced as a woman in the technology space, in this space?
For me, I've tried to kind of ignore the noise. I've always been, I always used to get these awards, and the award was always the same, Silent Thunder, in that I just kept my head down and we just worked. and didn't let anyone tell me I could or I couldn't. I let my work speak for itself. And I always knew that, as long as I continued to educate myself, as long as I knew that I worked hard and had a good attitude and treated people respectfully, that and I was recognized for it, then that was probably the right place I wanted to be in a company. And when I wasn't being wasn't treated well, I would then I would probably think about moving on. But it's, as a woman, I think we have a tendency to want to solve the world's problems, and want to, and I think, I'm no different. I want to, I want to make sure my team's okay. I want to make sure that everyone has what they need. And I think any manager would want to do that. But there's a softer side where you, of course, want to, but when you are managing, when you are kind of in senior roles, people expect certain things from you, and especially as a woman, it's a lot of times, I do feel like I've got to work a bit harder and a bit and be able to demonstrate that knowledge or that capability. So, but I think it's just me. I like, I'm a hard worker, and I like to do well. So.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Dan. That's a very candid answer. So it's a very personal and candid answer. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard today and would like to hear more, please subscribe to our podcast on your favorite player like iTunes and Spotify. And please do rate our podcast. Also, please go to our website, www.datatransformerspodcast.com, for more episodes, blogs, and information on our speakers. Thank you.